Mike Giardi, how we doing this afternoon?
Allergy season is in full effect, so I'm fighting through it like a trooper that I am. You got to be a warrior in this game, and that's what I am.
Well,
Okay.
hopefully somebody got you some Zyrtec for your birthday. See, Andy,
yes.
it helps when you butter up the guest by saying like "Happy birthday" or "Hope you had a nice birthday."
Yeah, I don't care. I saw on Twitter that his boss said that Joe Milton is not a good dude. Do you believe Joe Milton is not a good dude?
I never got that experience with him or had that experience with him. So, whoever he talked to or whatever his experiences were, that's what he's got. I would just say my thing about Joe, and I think it's one of the reasons why Joe ended up going in the 6th round, aside from the fact that he still didn't know how to play quarterback after 6 years in college, is that Joe's very immature. So
Yep.
I think the immaturity could be at times maybe confused with not being a good guy. Like you just, I don't know. I first seemed to totally get it, and he never got in college. And I think in this first year, he didn't necessarily get some of the teachings that they wanted him to put forth on the field.
Yeah, like don't be a pain in the ass. That's always a good lesson to start with. But hey, what can you do? He's Dallas's problem now. Mike, we haven't had a chance to connect with you. Here we are, only now, a week removed from day 2, 8 days post Will Campbell in 2025 with your New England Patriots. So your general overall feelings and thoughts on the draft for the audience at large, and who was your favorite pick?
I mean, it was a good draft. I think I hate the grades thing, but if you
Sure.
put you got to do it, I'd say like a B, because for me, I still have questions about the first overall pick. And if the first overall pick turns out to be a franchise, then I almost don't really care what happens after that. To me, that'd be an A. But I still have questions about whether that's what he is or if he's just going to be an average tackle or going to have to kick inside. And to me, that sort of sways how you view the draft. I do like the Trevion Henderson pick. I mocked him to them a couple weeks prior. I think it was a clear case of best player available. Maybe that they weren't necessarily hunting for a running back that high, but when he's sitting there at 38 and they look at their board vertically and horizontally, they said, dude, he's the best. We were going to take one anyway. He's the best one, period, of all the players we have rated at any position right now. Just let's lean into it and let's take him.
Love it.
Mike, is there a pick further down the board for the Patriots, potentially even a day 3 pick, that you think is going to have a bigger impact in 2025 than maybe people are giving them credit for?
I really like the Braden Swinson pick. I think if you looked at, talked to different people around the league, then you looked at some of the mocks, he was a borderline top 100 player. In fact, I know he, in some cases, with people that we respect, guys like Daniel Jeremiah and Dan Brugler, that's where he was. And to me, it was also the first move of the draft where they took a guy that maybe doesn't fit the whole kumbaya, everybody's pulling in the same direction, team captain, this sort of thing, where they've clearly made character in the off-field stuff. They still need good players, as Mike Vrabel likes to remind us, but they've clearly made that a priority. Swinson's a guy who butted heads with his coaches, and, I've done some digging on him, and I was told, he's a good kid. He's just really passionate, and sometimes that passion is misplaced. And there's also, again, there's a maturity thing. We're talking about I think he's a 22-year-old kid, but I really like his physical abilities. I think he understands how to get after the passer, and I think that's a place where they're a little lean. So I think he's going to get an opportunity, if he can pick it up quick enough and show that he's competent against the run, to get some playing time at edge.
Boston Sports Journal's Mike Giardi here with us on WEEI Afternoons. Drake May spoke to the media yesterday. Elliot Wolf made some comments about maybe seeing better leadership from him this year. Forget about the on-field playmaking and all of that. As the face and the leader of the New England Patriots, where would you say your confidence level is at with Drake May?
I mean, it's definitely going to be a process, right? And it feels like last year. I don't even think it feels like it was last year. I think there was, Jacoby's going to start. That's how it's going to go. And, we know Mayo said he outplayed him those last 2 weeks or whatever. May did outplayed Brissett. It was almost like that entirety of training camp, with the exception of post-practice work with Polk and Baker and some of the younger receivers, that it was I'm just content to sit back and let Jacoby be the leader. And then when it was time for me to take over, when it was time for him to take over, then I'll sort of exert my, my leadership and my will on some of these guys. And, it was a unique season in a lot of ways between the coaching staff and the inexperience and the struggles and everything that went on. And so I think, he could have done a better job. I don't say it as like that's a knock on him. I think it's a young kid trying to navigate a pro locker room that was going in a bunch of different directions. And it feels like, again, between the, just Joe Milton's not here to be a pain in your butt anymore. And, we've tried to improve the offensive line, but we've done it with high character guys and Will Campbell and Morgan Moses and sort of on that line of like, it just feels like there's more of a direction, and it might be easier for a younger player to sort of stand in front of that now and be like, most of these guys want what I want, and that's to win. And I think it's just easier to lead that way as opposed to, as it dissolved last year and it was like, I'm worried about my next contract and I'm worried about this. And, I'm not playing enough and I'm going to bitch about that. Like there was just a lot of different things there that I think was tough for a young quarterback to navigate.
So, Mike, 11 draft picks, 18 undrafted free agents, which just, they basically almost just brought in a whole new football team at this point. Now, I don't know how many are going to make it from either respective class, but if you were, let's say, who right now on the active roster, would you say like, check to see if I'm renting, or I would really try to ball out in OTAs and minicamp because they might be coming for your job?
I think wide receiver is clearly, again, I don't think that they've added this, or at least we don't know if they've added high-end talent. We'll see what Kyle Williams is. We'll see what Diggs is when he comes back from the ACL post, he's over 30 years old, like what that looks like. But in general, they did add better bodies to that position. I was saying the other day on TV, it was like, they're like the 23rd or 24th best room in the league now, as opposed to being like the worst in the league. So to me, that's a step in the right direction. It's still not what you want it to be. But if I'm Booty, Bourne, Baker, like, I'm a little nervous because I think there are 4 guys that are locks. And then how many are you going to keep? Not going to keep 7 this year. They kept 7 last year to start. That's not going to happen this year because there's more talent on the team, period. So, there's a real competition amongst guys that, Booty's proven to be an NFL player. The other 2, who knows?
Mike, I don't know if you remembered to set your DVR last weekend for the newest episode of CBS Sunday Mornings, but there was quite an interesting interview that came out from that particular program. I'm just curious, you've been around the Patriots for a while. You've seen a lot of change within the organization going back to the Belichick regime. What do you make about the conversation around the Patriots' former head coach?
It was interesting. Same thing, doing TV, and I was like, I kind of want the old Bill back. Like, where's that guy? And then Chris Gasper, I know. Who would have thought, right? But I'm just like, I don't know who this person is. And then Gasper made a point, and I give him a ton of credit. He was very well thought out, and he was just like, no, this is the guy.
Big words.
Well, then he did. This is the guy that we saw for the last 5 years. He's like the guy that didn't want to coach anybody other than players he liked. The guy that wanted to only surround himself with people that he liked and knew. That put Matt Patricia and Joe Judge in charge of the offense. Like, there is a kind of a connection to like, just, I don't really care about you guys anymore. I'm going to do what I want to do. And it didn't work out for him. It's why he's no longer here. And now I wonder, North Carolina's getting a ton of attention. And I guess you could still say, any attention is good attention, but like, we'll see. I just wonder what happens if they go 4-8, like,
see ya.
Yeah. I think he might need to go about 8-4 bare minimum to not be see ya at the end of the year, but everyone's talking about it. I'm reading a water carrying column on ESPN from Dan Wetzel, and we've been talking about it, all these other things.
Yeah, Andy's been doing a lot of yelling in the studio the last hour.
Yeah, a little bit, because when you have the facts wrong in every paragraph of a column on the Worldwide Leader, it's annoying.
Yeah, can you not hear the birds in the background? Mike's having a very nice afternoon.
And he likes this kind of stuff. Don't let him fool you. He likes this kind of anger. He loves hearing other people do it so he doesn't have to. But I'm wondering, how did the Kraft issue resonate within Gillette Stadium? Robert Kraft obviously had a long relationship with Bill Belichick. You had Mike Vrabel, his former player and now 1 year separated replacement in the job. Do you think people are like feel bad for him? Is this karma coming back around the other side? How do you think those that know him and that are still in Foxborough reacted?
I think there are still Bill loyalists in Foxborough, so I'm sure that there is a little bit of like, geez, Bill, don't do it this way. Like same thing as I was saying. Give me the old Bill back. But I think there's probably more people there that were like, he was a real pain in the ass to deal with. Didn't treat some of his superiors, as we saw with the Crafts, like they were his superiors. And so I'm sure, hey, we were right. We were right to get rid of him. The league was right to not hire him. And now North Carolina, good luck with him and his 24-year-old girlfriend.
Hey, Mike, I know we got to go, but I just want to point you out to this as well. On this very same subject, guys, I just discovered at UNC football, this is how much of a problem it is, just tweeted out a highlight of Drake May leaping over a defender into the end zone in a Carolina Blue outfit for a touchdown from 2 years ago. And it says, jumping into the month of May, like, okay, so we all get the witty wordplay. The comments on this UNC football highlight, the majority of which now are all Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson comments. It is a mess.
That is what you signed up for. Whether you meant to, wanted to, you allowed it, right? You knew that he was bringing her with him. She was part of the process all along. Mike Giardi, appreciate you joining us here on WEEI Afternoons. Have a tremendous weekend, and we'll talk to you down the road.
You too, guys. See ya.
See you, Mike.
Pal.
That was Mike Giardi, Boston Sports Journal here on WEEI Afternoons.